Yeah, I'd like to introduce our next reader. Uh, Emma Bartholomew is my teaching partner for the Deep Workshop. We teach middle school kids. It's a lot of fun. And she's a delight to work with, and the kids definitely respond to her. In fact, I want to tell you about real quick about a story that a student named Deja wrote about the two of us being roommates in a house where she described her room as being full of like every color known to man, and my room apparently had a painting of a bear lying in a hammock on the wall. But what happens in this story is we have to move away, and everyone in the neighborhood is so excited about us moving away that they tear down the house. And then on the rubble that's left behind, they have a huge party, kind of dancing on, our surrogate grave. And Deja lets us know that that the Deep kids, our students, did not come to the party because they liked us too much. So I hope after you listen to Emma and you meet Emma, you like her enough to not come to the party after they destroy her house. So Emma, please come up. Let everyone meet you.
For that was quite homey. I'm Emma, and I have. Pardon? I am. No false advertising. And I have some poems for you. I'm not exactly sure which ones I'm going to read. I guess you guys are going to dictate that by the vibes you're giving me. So, okay. So the first one that I'm reading is called "Notes on a Cello." And I actually wrote it in response to a project that I did in my master's program where they paired writers with artists from the local art college, which was really cool. And so we would give them one piece of our writing and they would give us one piece of art. So this was based on a screen print. I didn't even know what screen printing was, but this was based on a screen print of a man standing in like blue shadow playing an upright bass. And I don't know very much about upright basses, so I kind of cheated and used a cello. But this is the poem that I wrote for Hannah, who was my artist. It has 3 sections, but I'm pretty sure I'm good at pausing, so I'm not going to read 1, 2, 3. You guys will get that there are 3 sections. Okay, Notes on a Cello. When I was 10, I wanted one. I sat in on lessons, still deciding, even though my mother had picked the flute, so I could watch discovery, learn how music is born of silence, how to yo-yo the bow across taut, tight strings. My youngest sister plays now. I offer to carry it as I walk her to school. She refuses, hefts the weight left on her shoulders, a case larger than she is. When she comes running home, feet slapping concrete, I will wonder how she bears it all. In the corner of the smoky hazed lounge, a man plays the upright bass, older cousin to my cello. They are backlit in blue shadow and yellow, a bruised sheen that lifts the bass's varnish higher than its notes. He cradles her, fraught hands caught between reality and madness. The jazz is unpredictable. If he lifts his fingers from her humming frets, even their tips will sing. Thanks. I have a bunch of poems, so you really don't have to clap in between each one. I'm just letting you know right now. It'll make me really embarrassed. So my family are cartographers, and it kind of bleeds into my work a lot. So this one, I write like allusions to maps, and this one I actually wrote an ode to a map because my classmates were like, we're sick and tired, can you just write a poem that actually has to do with what you're talking about? So it's called Ode to the Map. A few sketched lines, and you have the world. The earth has gone from flat to round, but on the page we hold them both. An attitude of longitude, a latitude of longing. We graph the land, a map, like calculus for our feet. And a city housing thousands can seem like an ink stain, a dot from where we held our pens to paper 3 seconds too long while searching for a lost word. Okay, I guess we're going for the embarrassing Emma part. Okay, I get it. Okay. That's true. Well, no, because that's when you like take it in. You have to absorb it.
We can start clapping in the middle of them too.
That'd be helpful. Thanks. So this one is, I guess most of you are writers, from what I hear. This is a collection of writers. And this is for everybody who's written something and they bring it to a critique and they kind of, in the middle of reading it, really wish that it wasn't theirs anymore. And they kind of just don't want to have it. And so people are giving you feedback and you're like, yeah, that's great. Tell it to whoever wrote this crap, because I don't want to. Okay. The Young One. The poem is a child you didn't want. Wish you could leave in the midst of a crowd, walk away without turning back or hearing tears. And in classrooms, how you wish you could drop hands, make it fend for itself. You brought it into this world, isn't that enough? It is impossible to shake the feeling of feeding it to wolves, bullies on the playground, your own apathy. But how you wish you didn't have to always defend a mouth that echoes, "Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet?" And that's clearly how I feel about revision. So I just finished my master's dissertation and I did a whole section on reworking the Icarus myth. And for those of you who are not familiar with Icarus, he's the one who flew too close to the sun and he had wax wings, so they melted and he drowned. And I really focused on the relationship between Daedalus, who is Icarus's father, and Icarus. And I wrote 7 poems, and these are 2. They're the final 2 that both happen after Icarus has died. So they're 2 different ways of how Daedalus reflects on his son's death. So the first one is called In Utero. This is no way to close the story. Daedalus, alone again, exactly how he was before his son emerged, like lightning into being. He remembers how she arched her spine until her ribs became a bridge he could walk across blind, how the roof of her mouth felt like banks of sand at low tide. She wore pleasure well, like fine-spun wool, arms swung wide, sweat framing her neck. He remembers all this, a time when Icarus wasn't, a time before he was, and then the plunge, the moment that feels now like a myth repeated softly through the lonely nights, when he became. And then the second, the final one in the collection. The final one, these 2 really need to be read together, so I'll just keep going. But the final one is called Building a Carrier, and it starts with a quote from Metamorphosis by Ovid, which is the text that Icarus comes from. And the quote is, "The unhappy father, now no longer a father, shouted, 'Icarus, Icarus, Icarus, where are you? Which way should I be looking to see you?'" It started out the same as any other island, plate tectonics and continental drift, a cracked piece of Earth's crust alighting out at sea. But then it lay undiscovered, without a name or a context, the perfect vessel for a grieving father. Upon landing, Daedalus fills his pockets with the smoothest stones, piles a cairn of those he can't skip out to sea in an attempt to smash the glass of where his son lies coffined. The days accumulate like weighted rocks. Before he knows it, an island appears. Where it has come from doesn't matter, or whether it was always here. He walks the mountain's spine to where its wings should be. Do we have any fans of Plath in the room? Yeah? Okay, we got a couple. So this is a letter poem that I wrote to my friend Corinne after she told me, well, I guess you'll hear the story in the poem, but it's a letter poem. It's called An Original Death, but then I've started out addressing it to Corinne. Corinne, your friend refuses to go swimming on Wednesday because he has a date with the oven and swears he's holding to it. You chide him of Plath, the strain of unoriginality, and wonder why he gets upset. I tell you, it depends how serious he is about the oven. If it were my final plan, because the man who left me used to bake to show his love, and now the oven lies dark like a frigid corpse, what else could I possibly offer it but another reason for warmth? The last thing I would want to hear would be a lecture on poetic plagiarisms. It's all been done some way before. Funny how we remember the end more clearly than the middle, more immediately than how things began. And often those famous exits, the way one Halloween a friend showed up to my party, uncostumed. She was Virginia Woolf, shrugging her shoulders in the long overcoat, fingering pocketfuls of stones. Okay, I have two more, and this one is kind of my one of my poems about Savannah. Actually, I've only lived here for 4 months. I don't know if anybody knows the Lutheran church. I don't even know what square it's in, but it's a white Lutheran church, and it's kind of downtown, and it plays really nice music. So every time I go past it, I like every single time it seems to be playing, you know, these great tunes. So it's another Corinne letter, and it's called Sung Bells. Corinne, the Lutheran church near Andrew's work sings many times a day. I have yet to figure an exact amount, but it seems every time I pass, another song echoes through the cobbled squares. If you are coming from the south, each note is doubled, like twins, or rather copies. The first is real, the second elusive, a note that rings from the spaces between buildings instead of bells. What stopped me first were the deeper tones that swing below the melody, unlike any harmony I have ever heard. Their patterns are unique, more supportive than the common tune, as though they come sung from cupped hands. The second thing to stop me was that no one stopped at all. Okay, so clearly the embarrassing Emma has gone really well. This is my last poem. It's called 32. In numerology, it is ruled by Jupiter and the moon, meaning efficiency and imagination. King Vikramaditya's favorite, a magic number revealing truths and how to live them. It is how many letters God would have bequeathed to Adam when he was banned illiterate from the garden. In 2,000 years, we have deciphered 3/4 of the symbols. The shape of all the letters put together is claimed to form God's face, but maybe that is one face we are unprepared to see, so we assert our alphabet and hold it as complete. It is the number of our teeth confined in jaws to tear the taste from life. My mother's lucky number since she was 8 years old. The age my father was when I remember him most clearly, right before he darkens and becomes unrecognizable. And twice, the counted meteors in an August shower. First, on an interstate in Indiana, lying on the back seat peering out the window at a ceiling of stars when she was still alive and laughing up a storm in the passenger seat. Later, on the beach in Georgia, lines like struck matches in the night sky. We went down dirty and tired and came back smelling like the sea. Thank you very much.